love chocolate. It's like the best thing ever. But this one is my favorite. It tastes like so chocolatey, yummy, gooey, luxurious. That's the thing about chocolate and all sorts of yummy food. You can use so many words to describe it. It's like a party in your mouth and in your vocabulary. Again, I'm back with yet another lesson, and this lesson is going to be delicious. It's going to be finger licking good. Yes, I'm talking about that one thing that you love and I love too. It's food, glorious food. Oh my God, I love and live for food. I don't know if you do, but you must if you don't. And you know what, when you're talking about food, just saying the food is good is not enough. You want to say more because you love it and you crave it and you enjoy it. So I've got you a list of words which I'm going to use to describe food. Now, some of them are about amazing food. Some of them are about not so amazing food. But still, they're a very, very interesting list. And the next time you take your girlfriend or your boyfriend out for dinner, you could use some of these words to describe food and earn brownie points of a different kind. Okay, so the first one on my list is well done. That's right. Now, well done doesn't really mean that, someone's congratulating you for something that you did really well. It actually means, in terms of food, well cooked. So let's say I have to use it in a sentence. How would you use it? Okay, if you enjoy your meat well cooked, you could say something like, I like my meat well done. Or the meat is really well done, which means it's been cooked properly, just to the correct degree that you like it, or probably a whole lot of other people enjoy it who are sitting at the same dinner table. So, well, you could say something like, I like my meat well done. So that's well done for you. The next one is piping. What does the word piping bring to your mind? Does it make you think of the Pied Piper, or does it make you think of a water pipe? Well, let me tell you, it's none of that. Now, piping actually stands for steaming, which means a bowl of food or a bowl of liquid food which is steaming to the extent that you can actually see the steam rising out of it. So I could offer you some amazing and awesome lemongrass broth and say, be careful, it's piping hot. Which means if you look at the bowl of the vessel, you can actually see the vapor, the steam rising up. That's how steaming and fresh and piping hot it is. So that's piping hot for you. Moving on, the next one. Now, this one is very, very essential to all types of food. Aromatic, which means with a great aroma or a great smell. Now, I know food is all about the taste, but it's also about the aroma, the smell. If something's smelling so good, it's so aromatic, you just have to taste it, right? So when the food comes onto the table, you could say something like, wow, what great aroma. I can't wait to taste it. So that's the meaning of aromatic. It stands for great smell related to food, or the great fragrance of all the various tastes and flavors and aromas that the food is actually emitting. Okay, moving on, I have appetizing. Now, appetizing comes from the word appetite, which means your capacity to eat. So if you see a really nice, crispy looking bag of chips, don't you feel like just taking one and crunching on it, and then taking another and another? Which means the chips actually look good. They look like they'll taste good, which means they look appetizing to you. So appetizing means worthy of eating. So if I say your cooking is always appetizing, which means the way you present your food is so yummy, delicious and tempting that I just have to eat it. So well, for every cook out there, a small little tip and trick. I know your food's tasting great, but make sure it looks appetizing. That's when you're going to grab a lot of eyeballs and give pleasure to a lot of tongues out there. Okay, moving on. There's palatable. Now the word palatable comes from the word palate, which means your tongue's ability to taste different types of tastes. So if I say that the food is palatable, it actually means the food can be eaten. Food that can most definitely be eaten or consumed. So the reason we use this word and we have this word and we need this word is because haven't you seen sometimes that not all food looks good? Not all food looks appetizing. Some food can look disgusting and repulsive and you don't want to touch it. But food that is palatable, which means, yeah, it looks palatable. I can eat this. It can be eaten. So when you talk to somebody about their cooking, make sure that you don't say things like, I always find your food very palatable. Because though it's positive, it doesn't really come across in a very positive light, because it kind of tells the person that yes, you're a fairly decent cook, but it does not mean that you're an amazing cook. So well, food when it's palatable is good food, food that can be consumed, but it's not necessarily the best food. Moving on, I've got vinegary. When I say the word, oh my god, it really makes all the juices in my mouth trickle, because vinegary means tasting of vinegar. So you all know that vinegar is a kind of a seasoning liquid that is used in food. So there's different types of vinegar. There's rice vinegar, there's apple cider vinegar, there's red wine vinegar, there's white vinegar. So vinegar is used in different types of cuisines, for seasoning, for cooking, as part of the gravy. So if the food is tasting very vinegary, which means it has an excess taste of the vinegar liquid. Now that could work for some and that could not work for some. It totally depends on the individual. Moving on, I have nutritious. Now this word reminds me of my mother, because all my life she's been trying to feed me nutritious food. That's what mamas do, right? They want to feed their children nutritious food, because nutritious means healthy and wholesome. So food that gives you nutrition, that is good for your body, good for your health, and provides you vital nutrients such as proteins, carbs, and all the other things that one's body might need for functioning. So most often, most people who are health conscious will definitely go in for nutritious food. Well, moving on, I have crispy and crunchy. I can just feel the crackle in my mouth. These are my favorite words to use because I love crispy food and I love crunchy stuff. So crispy or crunchy, now both these words can be used one for the other almost. It actually means something that actually makes a slight noise when you bite into it, because it's hard enough for that, but at the same time, it's easy enough to bite into. So imagine you have a plate of crispy, curly French fries. Yummy, right? And when you bite into the French fries, they make that crunchy sound when you bite into it. So I hope you understood what crispy and crunchy means. It means they make a sound when you bite into it. So they're hard enough to make that crackling sound. At the same time, they're easy enough to bite into. So French fries could be crispy, they could be crunchy, cookies could be crunchy. Can you imagine yourself holding a nice chocolate cookie and crunching into it, which means when you're biting into it and when you're chewing it, your teeth are making that crunchy, delicious sound. Now moving on, I have spongy. Now spongy means something that's light, like a sponge. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind when I say spongy is a nice, amazing, yummy vanilla sponge cake. That's right. When you pick it up and bite into it, it's all soft and light like a sponge. So if your mom bakes you some spongy chocolate cakes, make sure you invite me for dinner. So the next one on my list is greasy. Not so happening, isn't it? Do you understand what greasy means? So, well, when you see food that's kind of all covered in oil, dripping in oil or cooked in oil or deep fried with the oil, really appearing and glistening on the surface. So when you look at the food, the first thing you think is, calories, oily. So that's greasy for you. So greasy essentially means oily or covered with oil. So if I go to a restaurant and I order a side dish of French fries and they're all greasy and covered with oil and not crispy, neither crunchy, then I won't be eating them. So, well, greasy is not so good when it comes to food. So make sure you stay away from all the grease, from all the greasy food, because it's really not good for your health. Moving on, I have rancid, another word that you do not want to associate with good food. Now, rancid means food that has gone bad. So, when the weather is really humid and you have a jar of peanuts and you keep them long enough, the next time you bite into them, you'll get this sour, bitter, not so pleasant, really, really strong taste. That's when it means that the peanuts have gone rancid, which means they have gone bad and they are no longer palatable, which means they cannot be eaten. I hope it's clear to you what rancid means. It means food that has gone bad. Now moving on, I have my favorite word. Now gooey, which means all soft and mushy and yummy. So when I say the word gooey, the first thing that comes to my mind is a fabulous chocolate brownie, which is hard on the outside, but all gooey and soft and flowing with chocolate sauce on the inside. So, well, that's what gooey stands for. Food that is kind of hard on the outside, but inside it's filled with like a gravy or a sauce, or it's really soft and liquidy and absolutely yummy. Well, moving on, I have crumbly. Food that breaks into crumbles or crumbs. So, don't you like a piece of cookie that's all crumbly? I like my cookie gooey and crumbly, which means when I bite into my cookie, it should just crumble to tiny bits and fill my mouth with all its heavenly taste. So that's what crumbly stands for. So, it could be food that breaks into tiny bits or crumbs. So a good piece of bread can be crumbly at times. A good cake could be crumbly at times. A cookie can be crumbly at times. And most food which is really yummy is crumbly at times. So I'm going to go over the words one more time for you. These are adjectives for food to describe food that we love and not love so much. So the first one is well done, which means well cooked. Piping, which means steaming hot. Aromatic, which means has a great smell, aroma, or fragrance. Appetizing, which means worthy of eating, something in a positive light. Now, palatable on the other hand, which means food that can just barely be consumed. And then there's vinegary, which means tasting of vinegar. Nutritious, which means healthy and wholesome. There's crispy or crunchy, which means it makes a nice sound when you bite into it. Spongy, which means light like a sponge. Greasy, which means covered with oil or very, very oily and greasy. And rancid, which means food that has gone bad. Gooey, which means soft, mushy and yummy, my favorite again. And crumbly, which means crumbs, which means it crumbles or falls into tiny bits or tiny crumbs when you bite into it. So many adjectives to describe that one thing that we all love, food, food and more glorious food. I'm sure there are many more on your mind that you want to talk to me about. Make sure you type in the comment box below. This is me, Rima, saying bye. Keep eating, keep enjoying food and keep describing it using my adjectives. Bye-bye.